Welcome, my dear guests, to the captivating expanses of my story. Chapter 2, At the Crossroads of History. The fresh snow scratched promisingly under Paulina Romero's robust boots as she made resolute steps towards the command center. Their breathing turned into small vaporizing clouds that lost themselves in the icy atmosphere. With an examining glance at the sad gray sky, which floated over her like a dark painting, the generaless gracefully entered the imposing building. Inside there was a tremendous turmoil. Officers were hurrying in a hectic hurry, while the radios were blowing through the air with a promising knock. Romero nodded close to the soldier and targeted the strategic table with holographic ornaments. Status report. Her voice sounded through the space like an alarming cry in the vastness of the universe. With an imposing step, a high-ranking officer stood before the admiral. His uniform shone in the light of the control room. As he spoke with an iron voice, "Admiral Romero, I am pleased to announce that the Wirebellstorm missiles are ready to be deployed." Admiral Romero merged her lips into a satisfied smile. The groundbreaking weapon she held in her hands promised to be an exponential increase in fleet strength for the Empire. With an iron determination, the Admiral uttered the words, holding her gaze firmly onto the screen. Her voice sounded through the control room as she passed the commands to the fleet commanders. The words carried the weight of an unimaginable power, which was now to be used in the fleet's arsenals. The future seemed to be tangibly near at that moment, when the missiles gained access to the fleet's arsenals. "Yes, Admiral." The officer greeted with an impressive posture and hurried away at a speed reminiscent of the technology of the future. Paulina Romero once again turned her gaze over the holographic light map that depicted the vast galaxy around the fascinating Kasach system. In the sparkling stars and the mysterious fogs she recognized the signs of an imminent change. The times of stall and stagnation would soon be a thing of the past. A new chapter of cosmic history would be written, and Romero was ready to take her place in it. With every pulse of her excited heart, she felt the fate of the galaxy manifesting itself in her hands. The power of the unknown was before her, and she would not hesitate to seize her. With determination and courage, it would face the challenges and make its contribution to cosmic history. The anticipation of the upcoming adventure made her heart beat faster and gave her the necessary energy to take the unknown path. Saint General Nadine Heimer felt a frosty tickle as she walked down the dark corridor to the telepathic control room. A depressing silence lay above the underground complex. No sound came to their ears except the sound of their own steps. She persistently approached a monumental steel gate and laid her tender hand on the state-of-the-art scanner. A quiet whisper filled the air as the door opened majestically. Behind her was a dark corridor without any windows that seemed to lead to infinity. At the far end of this mysterious corridor was hidden the mythical chamber of the telepaths, a place of unmistakable power and mystery aura. Nadine took a deep breath and walked courageously into the room. Immediately she penetrated the icy cold that driven her being here. The walls of the chamber were reinforced in leadish material to shield the telepathic forces. In the middle, a ring of metal beds gracefully arose, on which the telepaths rested in a deep trance. With thoughtful steps, Nadine approached the mysterious ring. But suddenly a telepathic lightning pierced one of the gifted, whose face was distorted by pain. An unfortunate turmoil also captured the others, who turned uncomfortable back and forth. Nadine turned back with a frightened gaze, as if she had witnessed an unimaginable horror. Something beyond their imagination had happened and put their world on their heads. At that moment, she realized that she was unable to cope with this situation on her own. She had to seek help before it was too late. Master Webster Myra Gupta stared with a mixture of pride and satisfaction at the monumental infrastructure plans that were spread out before her. It was a truly visionary endeavor, which she pursued with unwavering zeal. Their highly qualified teams were ready to meet the challenges of this enormous task. With skillful fingers she danced over the holographic keyboard of her data pad, while her eyes were focused on the bright screen. The house, the powerful body, had finally given the green light for the expansion of the Sidus Sim and Scapho-Ural colonies. A triumphant smile waved over her lips as she understood the significance of that decision. It was a step that would further strengthen their influence in the known vastness of the galaxy. An evil knock broke the silence and ripped her out of her deep thoughts. The doors opened with a mysterious whistle, and Vladimir Thaskov, the Minister of Construction, entered the room with consideration. His face was drawn by a heavy burden that made his eyebrows seem serious and dark. Myra Gupta, with an anxious look on her face, barely dared to ask the question, "Bad news?" Her voice trembled slightly as she released the words into the room, as if she was afraid of the answer. She already had an idea that the news would not be good, but she still had to know it. Her heart was beating faster as she waited for an answer. A heavy whisper escaped Vladimir's lips as he slowly formed the words. "That's what it is, my friend. Our highly talented telepaths have once again dared to connect with the beings behind the mysterious veil. But unfortunately, they seem to have had unforeseen complications in their attempt." Gupta shrugged her forehead as she looked at the holographic data streams. The words which she had just heard resounded in her mind, and caused an evil anticipation to rise in her. It was a dark sound that penetrated through the ether waves, and she knew instinctively that it was not good. The telepaths, those powerful beings who possess the ability to connect the thoughts and feelings of the population and thus create a harmonious unity, were the foundation of society. They were the guardians of mental balance, the guardian of the collective soul. But if their forces were disrupted, if their connection was broken, it could have devastating consequences. The prejudice in her grew stronger when she felt that the people were in danger. It was up to her and the other sensitive to recognize and combat this threat before it was too late. Vladimir listed the psychological feedback effects, the confusion and the cramps that spread in the bodies of the telepaths. The dark atmosphere surrounded him and made him realize that the situation was all but good. The signs were on storm, and Vladimir knew that he was going on a dangerous journey. But he could not retreat, for the fate of mankind was in his hands. The responsibility was heavy on him, but he was determined to do his best and accept the challenges. Despite fear and uncertainty, he felt a spark of hope that he could manage to avoid the threat and secure a better future for all. Myra Gupta felt her pulse beating as she swallowed down the bitter taste of fear. The fateful threat that floated over the people made their hearts heavy. There was no time to hesitate, no time for doubts. They had to fight against fate to defend their beloved homeland. Myra knew that the outcome of this struggle would determine not only the survival of her people, but also her freedom and her future. With every breath she felt the burden of responsibility on her shoulders, but she was ready to sacrifice her life for the good of her beloved homeland. The client of the calamity in the telepathic chamber perceived the kingdom as a cosmic hell. In the vastness of the empire, unrest burst out, shaking the fabric like supernovae. Without the unifying power of the telepaths, mortals fell at a furious speed to the distrust and discord that covered their souls like a dark fog. From the majestic terrace of the imperial palace, Empress Savia Heimer looked at the flaming hell that spread throughout the city. Her heart was filled with a heavy burden, for she had hoped that she would never again have to see such terrible scenarios with her own eyes. But the former harmony of the people was now broken into 1,000 scraps. She turned to her adoptive daughter Nadine Heimer, who stood by her. A breath of determination lay in her eyes when she said in a gentle but determined voice, "It is of the utmost urgency that we restore harmony and structure. Immediately." Nadine leaned her head thoughtfully, whilst her gaze shifted to the distance. The telepaths, those plagued beings of immeasurable power, will undoubtedly need some time to recover from the afflictions imposed on them. But in my vision I see a spark of hope shining in the darkness. Maybe, yes, maybe we can turn the people through joint projects back into a unity that is stronger than ever before. A thought of sublime wisdom, agreed Savia with a breath of reverence. Deep inside, she knew that Nadine had an extraordinary gift to understand people. The power of joint construction was undeniable and could do true wonders. With a determined gaze, she straightened her shoulders as if she could carry the burden of the entire galaxy. An unwavering determination pervaded her body as she confronted the relentless destiny. In her eyes a spark of hope burned up, permeating the darkness around her. Not everything was lost yet, because deep within them, there was an unwavering conviction that they would find a way that would free them from the claws of fate and shape a new future. It was only a few weeks later that the great empire began to have a tremendous movement. At every corner, you could see the hard-working workers working with dedication and zeal to revive the once destroyed infrastructure and once blooming cities. It was a vision that filled the hearts of the inhabitants with hope and filled their souls with renewed confidence. The joint work that united them day by day proved to be a powerful tool for bridging the deep gaps between people. It was as if the shadows of the past were slowly fading away and making room for a shining light permeating the darkness. The once so deep-rooted conflicts and hostilities had been washed away by a wave of solidarity and cohesion. And as the sun rose over the empire and its warm rays fell on the newly built buildings and streets, a sense of hope and optimism gradually returned. People began to believe in a better future and to focus their energies on moving society forward together. Joint projects have been launched to improve infrastructure and make educational opportunities accessible to all. The former pitfalls were overcome through dialogue and joint work. The military continued to expand, while Empress Savia Heimer followed the developments with a depressed eye. Deep inside, she knew that a robust defense was needed to withstand the threat. But their hope, their deepest longing, lies in a peaceful solution that would never make the use of the newly established troops necessary. In the midst of the dark times that surround the fate of the world, Savia remained a defender of peace, a shining star in a dark galaxy. But the client of the Almorans came to their ears with increasing hostility. Every day they were confronted with new provocations. Admiral Paulina Romero, impatiently pressing for a solution, encountered Savia's reluctant resistance. On that fateful day in remote September, when the border patrol was invaded by the Dark Almoraners, something happened that finally overheated the minds. With a heavy burden on her soul, the divine Empress Savia Heimer courageously stood before the assembled war council. The determined eyes of Admiral Paulina Romero's and the High Commander's permeated her as she slowly bowed her head. The moment had come. They had waited for an eternity, but now there was no other choice. The Almorans had driven them to the edge of the abyss. With a deep breath she gathered her determination. It was time to strike back. A thundering jubilation filled the air as the crowd burst into ecstasy. Admiral Paulina Romero, a woman of iron discipline and unwavering loyalty, raised her hand to the military greeting. "The Imperial fleet is ready, Your Highness," she proclaimed with a voice that was only so driven by determination and pride. Savia made her eyelids slide gently onto each other for a short moment, as if she were begging the stars for mercy. "Well, it is time to face up to the upcoming battle. For the freedom of the kingdom and the people," she whispered decisively. While Admiral Paulina Romero continually planned the invasion in sharp detail, Saint General Nadine Heimer cautiously retreated into the depths of her world of thought. She longed for a precious moment of calm and inner conversion to distance herself from the overwhelming war preparations. With thoughtful steps she passed through the majestic palace garden, which now rested in sad desolation. The once magnificent trees had already cast off their leaves, as if they wanted to reflect the melancholy of their own souls. The sight perfectly harmonized with her depressed state of mind. A deep sigh escaped her lips as Savia pondered her choice. A choice she had left no other choice. But the gravity of this decision was on the shoulders of all those involved. Nadine longed for nothing more than peace for the Empire. Suddenly, a glowing light pervaded the pond. With a mixture of fascination and curiosity, Nadine approached carefully to uncover the mystery that was unfolding before her. And there, in the midst of the mystical shimmer, she saw a lily of incomparable grace. Their wings shone in the most magnificent colors, as if they were woven out of the fabric of dreams. With an almost supernatural ease, the filigree creature settled on a descended branch, as if consciously giving in to the admiration of mortals. With a fascinated look, Nadine followed the spectacle in front of her. Even in the frosty close of the winter, life still flapped persistently. Nature, unshakable in its beauty, always found a way to unfold. With persistent determination, a gentle breath of warmth penetrated her chest, while the sparks of hope slowly but unstoppably lit up within her. The darkness seemed to be threatening, but they knew that they would not clear the field without fighting. Together, they would find a path through the maze of challenges to reach the light of salvation. With a bold determination, Nadine turned away from her previous path and with firm determination returned to the majestic palace. There was a firm certainty in their hearts that they would survive this test. There was no doubt that her mind could be blurred. The fleet was ready to take off, its combat-proven ships floated in infinite space, ready to cross the borders of the Empire. Squadron by squadron, an armada of steel and technology, patiently waited for their deployment while the brave crews carried out the final checks. The new Wirebellstorm missiles, a groundbreaking innovation in interstellar warfare, gave the ships an unprecedented impact force that would put the enemy in fear and terror. The future of the galaxy lies in the hands of these brave men and women, ready to face the challenges of space and protect the galaxy from darkness. On board the Justice, the majestic flagship, there was an atmosphere of tense concentration. Admiral Paulina Romero, the fearless leader, rose up on the command bridge and let her penetrating gaze float over the assembled crew. Each of them was aware of the immense significance of the coming moment. The future of the entire empire was at stake. Romero sprinkled himself with a quiet, yet meaningful sound. Her eyes sparkled with determination as she uttered the words slowly and thoughtfully. The preparations for the hyperspace jump have been completed. The target coordinates were entered with the utmost precision. We are ready to cross the borders of our territory and enter the space of the Almoran Empire. She breathed deeply and her voice penetrated the room with determination. For Kasach, the Empress and humanity. Forward to battle. An uprooting grief answered her as the majestic fleet plunged into the infinite hyperspace with an enormous force. Their course was unwavering, but they would have to travel through the infinite vastness of several distant star systems in order to reach the vibrant heart of the Almoran Empire. There was no way back, no way to escape fate. Admiral Romero painted her fists while the shadow of the Almorans lay above her. A dark omens that would curse the day of challenge in the floods of time. The defeat of the Almoran was inevitable, a fate already written in the stars. With her heart pounding wildly in her chest, Imperatrix Savia watched on the holoprojector, as the fleet of Admiral Romero appeared in the Q-turn system from the depths of the hyperspace. A place where they would prepare for the impending leap into the Almoran Empire. But precisely at this moment, when time seemed to stand still, a fleet of the crystalline Almoran ships, which also emerged from the incomprehensible vastness of the hyperspace, revealed itself. Saint General Nadine Heimer walked cautiously on the side of Imperatrix Savia. Trust me, Mother. Admiral Romero has the ability to fulfill her mission. Savia escaped a heavy sigh. I am aware of that. And yet I wish that it should never have come to such a threatening situation. With her eyes closed, she followed the majestic spectacle that unfolded before her eyes. The two fleets, like two giant predators, moved slowly towards each other. Their presence in space was invisible. But then it happened, a moment of change that was to shape the course of history forever. The first salves of the Wirebell Storm rocket unleashed an infernal fireworks that turned space into a flaming inferno. May the stars be with us, whispered Empress Savia. Explosions danced on the hologram projector as the spacecraft unleashed their weapons in a deadly duel. However, with the breakthrough technologies of the latest generation, Kasach had won the lead. With every devastating blow, the destroyed fleet of the Almoran slowly retreated, facing the inevitable fate. An uprooting cheer filled the control room when Empress Savia closed her eyes with relief. They had won. The hand of her adoptive daughter rested gently on her shoulder, as she addressed her with a thoughtful voice. You have acted wisely, Mother. In the depths of our souls we will find the lost piece. After we have taught the Almorans not to lie with us anymore. Savia smiled exhausted as she contemplated the price of victory. But now that they could dare a new beginning, a shining spark of hope shone in their eyes. The festive evening party at the magnificent officers' casino reached its peak. A kaleidoscope of cheerful laughter, beverages and exulting cheers filled the room as the members of the brave crew plunged into ecstasy. They indeed had every reason to enjoy this celebration to the full. Admiral Romero could not suppress a satisfied smile as her gaze waved over the joyful crowd. The Almoran, once so powerful and frightening, had now been defeated in a devastating battle. Suddenly a smiling laugh penetrated the room that came out of one of the tables. Admiral Romero, confused and irritated, slowly turned her head in the direction of the noise. Three bold flyers lifted up their cocktails, filled with bright neon colors, and struck with an ears-busting jubilation. Their uniforms seemed as if they had spent a restless night in them. Romero shrugged his forehead as she approached her with a determined step. A breath of tension lay in the air as the three instantly silenced and jumped in mindfulness. Discipline comes before victory, Romero whispered. I expect everybody on their posts tomorrow on time and sober. Have we understood each other? With determination. You understand, Admiral. It replied unanimously. Romero confirmed the truth of their discernment with a slight nibble and turned away decisively. Their eyes reflected the determination of a warrior who opposed the chaos. There was still an enormous task before her, which she had to deal with all her strength. The war may have just begun, but it was firmly determined to secure peace and restore balance. With a burning determination, Romero began his mission to ensure absolute order. In no way would it allow this glorious victory to be jeopardized by a lack of discipline. Chief Scientist Rita Griffin remained in her state-of-the-art laboratory, surrounded by holographic projections and futuristic designs of the latest tachyon sensors. Her eyes slipped over the patterned lines that had the potential to transcend the limits of what was currently feasible. But suddenly an unexpected knock at the massive door broke through her concentrated silence. A quiet whisper filled the room as the door slowly opened and a mysterious shadow begged for admission. Rita felt her heart shake for a moment when she saw the intruder. It was your close friend Hinata Takahashi, who entered the room with indisputable radiance, with anarchic dignity. Her gaze revealed a mixture of curiosity and determination. Rita could feel that this visit was about something important, something that could change her life forever. "Entry has been granted," replied a computer voice, without turning her eyes away from her work. The massive door closed silently behind Hinata as she walked through the room. Her appearance was surrounded by an aura of mystery. "Please excuse the disturbance?" she whispered with a voice that sounded like a distant coming out of another dimension. "No, it's good. Be my guest in my office." Rita pointed to a simple chair. "What brings you to me, to my sphere of glory?" Hinata sat down, her eyes sparkled in the light. "I had the urge to see you, to know how you were. The past few months have been a burden that we all carry on our shoulders." Rita squeezed deeply, her voice pervaded by a breath of melancholy. "Indeed, my dear friend. But now that the cosmic stars are reorienting in our destiny, we have a unique opportunity for a new beginning." Her eyes sparkled full of hope, as she uttered the words with an almost supernatural certainty. The past may have left its scars, but now it is up to them to shape the future and take the path of change. Rita and her friends knew that together they had the power to realize their dreams and fill their hearts with new passion. It was time to let go of the past and boldly embark on the adventure of a new beginning. A spark of enthusiasm flashed in her eyes as she spoke. "And these breakthrough sensors will help us do this. With their help, we will finally be able to map the still unknown vastness of the galaxy even more effectively." A gentle smile played Hinata's lips as she shaped the words. "You are telling the truth, my love. Your breakthrough discoveries will lead us on a journey far beyond our imagination." In a world filled with boundless curiosity and unwavering spirit of exploration, Rita rose with a graceful gesture, pointing with a handful of promises to the plans that lay before her. Her eyes sparkled of excitement as she shaped the words that were to change the fate of humanity forever. "We live in an era in which the limits of the unknown continue to blur with every breath we take," she whispered, whilst her voice was filled with a breath of reverence. "The universe itself opens its mysterious gates and reveals its deepest secrets to us. The future lies before us, my dear, and it is filled with endless possibilities that we just need to seize. Let us find the courage together to explore these new paths and lead mankind to a glorious future." With these words she filled the room with an atmosphere of hope and curiosity, while her confidants awaited her next words. Hinata rose majestically, her eyes sparkling like stars in the endless darkness of the universe. "And with beings like you walking through the vastness of the galaxy, our hope shines in an unprecedented glow." She surrounded Rita for a fleeting moment, her eyes merged into a single, intense moment. "I feel in the depths of my being that you will truly accomplish great things," she whispered with a voice that seemed to come from a distant future. A radiant smile adorned Rita's face as she produced her words. "I thank you wholeheartedly for believing in my abilities. Together, we will lay the foundations for a galaxy that goes far beyond human imagination." With a wave of unwavering determination, she returned to her ambitious plans. The sparkling stars of the firmament seemed to smile encouragingly to her, as if they were to signal her that the universe itself would be benevolent in accompanying her plan. Hey, I would be happy if you could give my video a like, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel to stay up to date.